Hello and welcome to WEBN General News. I'm Sam Lawrence.
And I'm Colette Lauture. Let's get right into today's top stories. Former President Trump has now officially requested that the Supreme Court continue the freeze on his election interference trial. A federal court recently paused action on the trial after denying Trump's absolute immunity from criminal prosecution appeal. The request paused the trial motion that is scheduled to meet tonight. This action comes days after the former president appealed to remain on the 2024 presidential election ballot.
School cancellations across the city have already occurred as Boston prepares for a nor'easter early Tuesday morning. The forecast is currently expecting between 8 and 12 inches of snow. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu has announced a snow emergency beginning at 10 p.m. Monday night. In addition to snow, high winds and ocean tides are expected. Wu says that 850 snow removal vehicles and 38,000 tons of road salt are already ready for use. Parking bans will go into effect to ensure road access for emergency vehicles.
The Seaport area may become a new location to shelter migrants. This comes as a migrant shelter in Roxbury is nearing full capacity. The governor's office says the state is working with United Way to evaluate other safety net sites. While no locations are confirmed yet, State Representative Frank Moran said an office building site may be in the Seaport. Other areas are under consideration as well. Former President Donald Trump's ineligibility began in the United States Supreme Court earlier this week. For more on the case and on politics, we have Eva Li. Eva?
Thanks, Colette. The Supreme Court began proceedings to determine whether or not Donald Trump should be on the ballot for the 2024 election. The justices inserted some moments of levity, making comments about themselves and their decisions. The arguments lasted over the allotted time, taking over 2 hours. The justices remained skeptical about former President Trump's ability to remain on the ballot due to his involvement with January 6th. President Biden held a press conference where he aimed to address concerns regarding his mental acuity following a special counsel report referring to him as an elderly old man with poor memory. However, Biden made a verbal mistake at the conference, mistakenly referring to the president of Egypt as the president of Mexico. This incident reignited discussions about Biden's age and cognitive abilities, which have been a concern for both Democrats and Republicans. The report from the special counsel fueled Republican efforts to paint Biden as unfit for office. While Democrats continue to support Biden, there are growing concerns about his ability to convince voters of his capability for another term in office. President Biden defended his image at a press conference on February 8th following an exhaustive investigation regarding his mishandling of classified items. Mr. Biden makes it clear that his continued cooperation with the special counsel sets him apart from former President Donald Trump. Biden claims he has sought no delays, sat in for long in-person interviews on October 8th and 9th when dealing with major international crisis, and returned classified documents. In President Biden's case, the special counsel decided against moving forward with any charges, and the matter is now closed. That's all for politics. Back to you at the desk.
Harvard University has been ordered to release documents concerning incidents of anti-Semitism on campus by 5 p.m. on Wednesday. The United States Education and Workforce Committee's chairwoman, Virginia Fox, claims that Harvard has obstructed federal investigations by withholding documents about their anti-Semitism hearings that took place last December. Just last month, Harvard's former president, Claudine Gay, resigned after backlash from her statements in the House hearings. Harvard says that it is working to meet the committee's demands by the deadline.
Pressures on the British monarchy are mounting after King Charles III was diagnosed with cancer last Monday.
He's very touched by all the letters and messages, all the public has been sending from everywhere.
Buckingham Palace did not disclose the type of cancer he has. They say he will continue fulfilling his state duties, but will step back from public appearances. Royal experts say his diagnosis is unlikely to destabilize the House of Windsor.
The Israeli Defense Forces carried out more strikes in the city of Rafah after 2 hostages were rescued from the southern Gaza Strip. For more international news, we have Hongyi Ji. Hongyi?
Thanks, Sam. On February 11th, 2 hostages, 60-year-old Fernando Simon Marman and 70-year-old Louis Har, were rescued from Gaza. On October 7th, Hamas kidnapped both of them. They are now in Israel. Both of them are in good medical condition. On February 12th, the Israel Defense Forces conducted more strikes on the South Gaza Strip, specifically the city of Rafah. At least 63 people were killed and dozens were injured. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has reaffirmed his commitment to enhancing the nuclear deterrence strategy with the United States. Yoon says despite South Korea facing the nuclear threat from North Korea, the country has no intention to develop its own nuclear weapon. Yoon previously stated in an interview that South Korea is capable of acquiring nuclear weapons at a rapid speed. The tension between the North and the South has now reached a peak as North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un is quickly escalating military provocation. Ukraine utilized the Patriot defense system to intercept a Russian cargo plane on January 24th. The Patriot, a system that is usually used to protect a location, was used in a different way. Russian officials stated that there were 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war on that plane. United States officials have not confirmed that information, but says that some of them were Ukrainian prisoners. This is not the first use of the Patriot. Ukrainian officials first started using it last spring, and since then, the Patriot have shot down many Russian planes, creating threats for the Russian Air Force. That's all for international news. Back to you at the desk.
Coming up, more updates on the jet that crashed onto a Florida highway.
And the latest news following Las Vegas's very first Super Bowl.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
Welcome back.
Let's get right back into more stories. On Friday, a Bombardier 600 jet carrying 5 people crashed onto I-75 in Collier County, Florida. The pilot, Edward Murphy, and second-in-command, Ian Hoffman, were reported dead by the county sheriff's office after the incident. Air traffic controllers in Naples confirmed that the vehicle lost both engines and suffered a fuel-based fire before crashing. All other passengers are expected to survive, and nobody else was injured in the crash.
Hiker tragedy. Authorities confirmed a California woman was found dead in the Mount Baldy area Sunday morning. This comes after a week-long search by rescue crews.
We did see search and rescue this morning, so...
22-year-old Lee Fei Huang set out for the solo hike on February 4th. She hadn't been heard from since 4 p.m. that day. Rescue efforts were limited because of extremely heavy snowfall and avalanche risks, the sheriff's department said. They've also advised the public to stay out of the mountains during bad weather. Authorities have not yet released her cause of death. Emerson students, be prepared as Tuesday's snowstorm is set to impact early morning commutes. For more on the weather, we have Phoebe Alves. Phoebe?
Thanks, Colette. This week we can expect some chilly winter days here in Boston. On Monday, there is a high of 44 and a low of 31. On Tuesday, we are anticipating a nor'easter storm. There is a 90% chance of snow with around 10 inches expected overall. There will be a high of 38 and a low of 26. The rest of the week will be cold but sunny, with a high of 31 degrees on Wednesday and a low of 22 degrees. On Thursday, there is a high of 37 degrees and a low of 20. Rounding out the week on Friday, there will be a high of 35, a low of 26, with a 45% chance of snow. Stay warm this week, y'all. That's all I have for weather. Back to you at the desk.
Republican legislators sent a letter to CBS last Wednesday warning them not to air an advertisement for the Chinese e-commerce app Temu during this year's Super Bowl. Last year's advertisement solidified Temu as the #1 most downloaded app in the United States. The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party accused Temu of spying on its customers, allegedly bypassing cell phone security and accessing personal messages, as well as viewing users' activities on other apps. Temu is under congressional investigation for accusations that they use enslaved labor in the making of their products. Hey Colette, did you watch the Super Bowl last night?
I sure did, Sam, and I was a little upset that the Chiefs won, but I guess they had to
That
have
overtime had me on the edge of my seat. For the
know.
final 15 minutes, I was like, let's figure out, let's get it going.
Literally. For more on sports and the Super Bowl, we have Meg Boucher. Meg?
Thanks, Colette. Former New York Mets general manager Billy Epler has been suspended through the World Series. Epler directed the staff to fabricate injuries, creating open roster spots. He He cooperated with the investigation, and the Mets announced they consider the matter closed. Chip Kelly has stepped down as UCLA's head coach. He will now be Ohio State's offensive coordinator and has signed a 3-year contract with them. UCLA is still searching for someone to fill Kelly's place. And the Chiefs defeated the 49ers in overtime at Super Bowl 58. With 13 seconds left in overtime, the Chiefs scored a winning touchdown, making the final score 25-22. This is the Chiefs' 3rd Super Bowl win in the past 5 seasons. That's all for sports. Back to you at the desk.
Up next, the Academy Awards announces a new category for the 2026 Oscars.
And Lincoln Memorial University is surprised by an unexpected visitor.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back to WEBN General News. Now, Sam, I know we're still reeling from the Chiefs' win last night, but did you catch Usher's halftime show?
I did. I loved it. The roller skates, it was so good. For more on the latest entertainment news, we have Meira Fiber-Munro. Meira?
Thanks, Sam. Artist Usher headlined the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show this year. He was a special guest back in 2011 performing with the Black Eyed Peas. Usher recently launched his first album as an independent artist. Before the performance, Usher noted that fitting 30 years of music into 13 minutes was going to be a challenge for him. The singer brought out some special guests during the performance, including Alicia Keys, Her, Lil Jon, and Ludacris. Mr. and Mrs. Smith premiered on February 2nd on Prime Video. The film stars Donald Glover and Maya Erskine. Mr. and Mrs. Smith reimagines the 2005 movie that originally starred famous divorced couple Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Glover and Erskine star as spies disguised as a married couple. Creators Donald Glover and Francesca Sloan casted an array of stars in the movie, including Paul Dano, Sarah Paulson, Ron Perlman, and more. A new category is being added to the Oscars next year for casting directors. The Board of Governors for the Academy announced Thursday that casting directors would be recognized in upcoming Oscar ceremonies. The first statuette will be presented starting with the 98th Academy Awards in 2026. In a joint statement, Academy CEO Bill Kramer and President Janet Yang said they are proud to add a casting category to the Oscars.
An escaped wallaby surprised students and faculty at Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. It made its way across the 1,000-acre campus while Animal Control worked in conjunction with the Claiborne County Sheriff's Department to locate the missing marsupial. Owning a wallaby in the state of Tennessee is legal under the conditions that owners receive permits from the Department of Agriculture prior to the animal's purchase. The animal's owner has not yet been identified. Thank you for joining us for WEBN General News. I'm Sam Lawrence.
And I'm Colette Lauture. For more, go to WEBN.TV or check out our Instagram at WEBN General News. We'll see you next week.